My name is Athena Simpson. This is my capstone project for PE 589, Professor Alstott, Fall 2018. The title is Developing Intrinsic Motivation in Secondary School Physical Education Programs. Physical education programs are essential to introducing children to physical activity, giving them the knowledge and the ability to maintain a healthy and active lifestyle for the rest of their lives. The question is, why are some students motivated to participate in activities and others are not? The purpose of this research was to examine how intrinsic motivation of students can be increased so that they participate in physical education activities. The first aim was to investigate the relationship between perceived competence, interest, importance, enjoyment, and then the second aim was to examine motivational patterns for gender-specific physical education classes. Research questions are: what motivates secondary school students to participate in physical education? How do self-determination, goal orientations, and environmental goal climate influence motivation in physical education? And third and final question is, what social factors impact motivation in physical education classes? The question is, what motivates students to want to participate in physical education? The primary research or literature review that I used for what motivates students or part of the predictors of intrinsic motivation is by Ferreira and Weiss, named Predictors of Intrinsic Motivation Among Adolescent Students in Physical Education. The purpose of this article review was to study the relationship between intrinsic motivation, social factors, individual factors, and motivational behaviors of high school physical education students. The procedure consisted of letters and phone calls to the principal and the physical education teachers, as well as phone calls to requesting student volunteers as participants. There were 30-minute questionnaires, and there was informed consent given. The data was all collected at the end of the term. Participants were 207 male and 201 female students from 8 different physical education high schools. 4 of the high schools were urban with a student population of 130,000. The remaining 4 high schools were rural, and the student population or the participants' ages ranged from 14 to 19 years old. The methods was a mixed method research of qualitative and quantitative data collecting. Intrinsic motivation inventory was used with different scales. 5-point Likert scales were used. The harder self-perception profile for adolescents, the task and ego orientation and sport questionnaire, learning and performance questionnaire, teacher rating of academic achievement motivation, structural equation, and index and zone scales. And the results supported that participants were motivated to participate for fun. They actually wanted to learn, and because they had the ability to choose activities that they were participating in. When the students were associated with competition, they were less likely to participate. These findings supported that it's important to create an environment that focuses on effort, learning, and developing perceived competence, which is also labeled as self-esteem. And the application was this affirmed the relationship between the cognitive evaluation theory and intrinsic motivation, where intrinsic motivation is based on student needs and perceived competence. answer the second research question, how do self-determination, goal orientations, and environmental goal climate influence motivation in physical education? There are many theories that do that. One of those theories is the self-determination theory. And this research or literature review focuses on that theory. The purpose of this research was to understand the motivational process by means of examining the self-determination theory. The authors hypothesized that autonomy-supported physical education environment would positively influence competence. So if the students were able to decide themselves. Also relatedness and autonomy, so how much they related to the activity, how they related to the teacher, and if the activity was able to reach their psychological needs. The procedure included a multi-section inventory questionnaire. The students were told that it was confidential, they could drop out at any time. The questionnaires were 20 minutes, and the data was collected over a 7-month academic term. The participants were 394 students, 204 boys, and 189 girls, with age ranges from 11 to 14. Participants also included 9 teachers, 5 men and 4 women, and there was 2 schools located in England. The methods was a questionnaire and subscales evaluating autonomy, support, competence, relatedness, and motivational regulations. They used descriptive statistics with fixed indexes, and the results supported the author's hypothesis, where student choice, if they were able to choose, it developed a sense of autonomy and competence where they could relate to the activity, and this increased intrinsic motivation. The application for this, although the study is not central to the United States, it does give a connection to the motivational process towards intrinsic motivation in a physical education class. Final literature review attempts to answer the question on what social factors influence motivation in physical education classes. This particular literature review focuses on how girls discuss gender relations and equality and how those affect participation. The procedure consisted of consent from the review board, the school board, and signed consent from students and parents. The participants were 15 female students, 9th and 10th graders, and 1 physical education teacher from a public high school in southeastern United States. The informal conversations were not taped. It was a qualitative research design, and the observations were 90 minutes long. Field notes were taken and then transcribed for data analysis. The results implied that the gender relations both inhibited and promoted the girls' motivation in physical education in a co-ed class. So the application to this is that all of the girls felt like they were motivated by a co-ed class, but they were also inhibited by a co-ed class. There were still gender barriers, which leads to for the application in the question, would a girls only physical education class increase? The methodology was a mixed methods research, which contained quantitative data analysis using paper and pencil questionnaire, and qualitative data analysis using a paper and pencil survey with 3 open-ended questions and 12 audio recorded interviews. The participants were a population of secondary school students from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, age ranging from 11 to 14 years old. The sample included 120 students, both male and female, from a suburban middle school in Southern California. The classification in grade level was 42 6th graders, 29 7th graders, and 49 8th graders. Personal interviews were 1 male and female participant from each grade level, 6 in total. The interview guide is an intrinsic motivation survey and interview guide where students' perceived competence, interest, degree of importance, enjoyment while participating in physical education activities were assessed using a modified version of the intrinsic motivation inventory and interest enjoyment subscale presented by Furukawa and Weiss, 2006. Items were rated on a 5-point Likert scale that ranged from strongly agree to strongly disagree. This included 9 demographic questions, 35 Likert scale questions, and 3 open-ended questions. Quantitative data analysis was used for the paper and pencil questionnaire with 47 questions in total, and the interviews were audio recorded with 12 questions relating to choice, climate, environment, and gender roles. The procedure consisted of an email written to the principal asking for consent to consent for the study, and upon approval the teacher was notified via email regarding the study and requesting to use the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade class. On an arranged day, the author and myself visited the school and explained the purpose of the study to the students. The students were told that the questionnaires and interviews were anonymous and that they could opt to decline or withdraw from any time. The consent forms were given to the students to take home to parents and returned. After providing the consent, which was a week later, students completed the pencil and paper questionnaires in about 30 minutes. They filled out the questionnaires during their physical education class. They were permitted to sit at the lunch benches to complete the form. Personal interviews were completed directly following the questionnaire, and the data was collected during the time period of 1 day and under the supervision of the researcher and the student's teacher. For the results section, we'll first talk about the quantitative data, which used a 5-point Likert scale for the questions. And to make it more coherent, the percentage distribution, strongly agree and disagree were combined, as well as disagree and strongly agree. So we have agree, neutral, and disagree for the responses. The results suggested that students are motivated to participate in physical education for a variety of reasons, which include receiving a good grade, learning new activities, the enjoyment of physical education, being outdoors, and having a good teacher. And you could see that on the slide that I am motivated was 96 kids, 80%. Motivated to receive a good grade was 101 students, 84.2%. Motivated because I like to learn new activities, 77 students, or 64.1%. Motivated because I like to learn, enjoy physical activity. Right there, I love PE, was 66.7%. Like to be outdoors, 80%. I'm motivated because I have a good teacher, 93.3%. The perceived competence, the second analysis was to investigate the influence of self-determination, goal orientation, environmental goal climate. This was broken up into 3 sections to make it a little bit easier to analyze. The first section was perceived competence. And the results proposed participants have a high level of perceived competence. You could see from the chart that I'm good at PE, 75.9%. I do well compared to others, 70%. After working on actively, I feel confident. 75%, I'm satisfied with my performance, 80%. And then that bottom graph, the results for achievement goal suggests that students really strive to do their best and are motivated to be successful. Quantitative results continued. Results for the questions regarding environmental goal climate, which is at the top right there, suggests that climate conditions had no effect on whether the students were motivated to participate in physical education or not. The results also propose that students were highly motivated to participate due to the friendliness and openness of their teacher. Questions where I enjoy having PE outside, 78.3%. I enjoy having PE inside, 38.3%. Depending on the weather, I enjoy PE, 73.3%. I enjoy PE because my teacher is friendly, 89.2%. I enjoy PE because I can approach my teacher with any question, 89.2%. So the results seem that being able to have a good teacher and the friendliness of the teacher adds to intrinsic motivation, participation in physical education. Interest and enjoyment and effort in importance. The results suggest that the participants enjoy PE. If they could have a choice, they would enjoy it even more. And they put a lot of effort into PE, and they believe PE is important. The final analysis on the bottom left was to examine the social factors that impact motivation in physical education classes. The results demonstrate that socialization was an important aspect to students' motivation in physical education. And although there was no significant majority of students who participated in physical education solely because they had friends in the class, the results still propose that participants enjoy physical education because they can socialize with friends. The results also indicated that parents believe physical education is important. In final, the results highly supported that students' health was important to them. A slide for the results section, describing the qualitative data analysis, which was the 3 open-ended questions and the 12 interview questions. Developed 4 major themes: achievement, environmental, choice, and equality. For the achievements, a student's response: I like PE because I consider myself athletic, and being with my friends while learning a new skill or running makes PE better. For choice allowed participants to explore their interests, allowing for a possible increase in motivation. A student's response said, to the question, if you had more choice, do you believe that students would participate more? And a student replied, yes, because I'd work extra hard while I'm doing something I like. Also, I believe that the rate would go up on the amount of children participating. For environmental, there were 5 sub-themes. One of them was socializing. I like PE because you get to talk to your friends. That was from participant 17. Participant 22 said, what I like about PE is socializing. And the environmental, I like PE because it gives me a chance to be outside with my friends. I like PE because of my teacher. So a teacher became a sub-theme. It helps me learn, and my teacher's super nice and caring. Health was recognized by students. I like PE because it is to do physical education as to keep me healthy. I like PE because it's fun. So a lot of students reported that they like PE because of the enjoyment. So it's fun. I like PE because it's fun and exciting. The final theme, equality, it revealed the participants' conviction for mixed gender classes. The question that was asked was, do you believe that participation would increase if there was a boys' class and a girls' class, so gender-specific classes? And the response delineated a pattern of adverse acceptance. Here are the following responses. And I'm quoting, like, I don't really see gender-specific classes to do anything. Kids must learn to work with one another, so in the real world, they won't have these issues. Gender-specific classes would not enhance their PE experience. Another participant said, no, I wouldn't care. It isn't fair to split up kids based on their gender. Another participant said, no, because in all-girls class, girls will not do anything. Having a mixed class gets them more motivated. And then the last 2 students' responses were, I feel like girls would be more motivated because boys and girls have stereotypical motives in a way, and if they were separated, then each class would have their own kind of motive that they could be based off of, as in activities they want to participate in. Yes, first you would have more opportunity to be with your friends, and the guys won't team up. The guys make the girls feel that they can't do the sports. They put us down. Discussion. There are many similarities between previous research and the data analyzed in this research study. Previous research has shown that choice is a powerful predictor of motivation in secondary school physical education programs. The results of this study suggest that physical education teachers should develop an environment that promotes choice. The qualitative data analysis results for enjoyment reveal that participants stated that they participate in physical education because it's fun. Enjoyment was a prominent rationale to students' motivation and self-determination in secondary school physical education programs. The results are consistent with findings of several previous studies that reported that students are motivated to participate in physical education because of fun, they want to learn, and because they have the ability to choose their activities. The results conclude that the environmental climate has both positive and negative effects on motivation for secondary school students. The weather, teacher, and peers affect students' motivation to participate. Although previous research has examined the influence of environmental factors on motivation in secondary physical education programs, prior research on how the climate affects student motivation was not discovered. So the current research provided no substantial evidence for an increase or decrease in motivation due to environmental goal climate. The achievement goal theory declares that the manner in which students criticize their competence and success are significant to motivational behavior, which is current with the findings in this research. The findings suggest that middle school is a critical period in the descending current of students' motivation to participate in physical education activities. Understanding the influence of physical education and climate on students' attitudes, as well as motivational theories, are of prominent importance. And the motivational outcome for male superiority has been studied in previous research, where the learning environment where girls are intimidated or harassed or minimalized, which affects the development and motivation of female middle school students, and that is concurrent with previous research. And the findings demonstrate that it's arduous to implement a program that fits all students' motivational influences, but it's recommended to include creating a physical education curriculum that meets both male and females' needs, psychological needs, desires, using a co-educational approach. The implications of the study affirmed that there's a challenge for co-educational physical educational programs and the importance of developing intrinsic motivation in secondary school physical education programs. School district officials, school administration, athletic departments, physical education teachers, and the students participating in physical education programs may benefit from this research study. Research has suggested that there is a decline in physical activity from 6th to 8th grade. Understanding the influence of physical education climate on students' attitudes, as well as motivational theories, are of paramount importance in developing intrinsic motivation in secondary school programs. Physical education teachers should develop an environment that differentiates instruction, promotes student choice, self-determination, goal orientation, and meets their psychological needs. Suggestions include creating a physical education curriculum that meets the needs for both males and female students, a co-education approach with equal distribution of male and female activities is suggested. Understanding the importance of the meaning of physical education to each student may lead to the development of intrinsic motivation and increased participation. And providing a learning environment of inclusion where girls do not feel intimidated, harassed, or minimized is an essential factor in developing motivation. School district officials can benefit from this research as it offers insight into providing gymnasiums to all middle schools to elevate lack of motivation in extreme weather conditions such as heat and rain. A gym would also offer more choice when it comes to desired activities such as aerobics, Zumba, yoga, even Wii Fit. A school site administration and athletic department would benefit from the results of this research as they could provide support to physical education teachers in the efforts to provide a curriculum where students have a choice in which activities they perform, which activities they do. And then physical education teachers will benefit from this research because developing intrinsic motivation in students will increase their participation in classes, which will also increase grades and will make life easier for all teachers. Students will benefit from this research as they will have a choice in the activities they participate in, which will lead to a lifelong love for physical activity. They will be happy, they will be healthy, and they will be on the road to success. Recommendations and future research. Recommendations include looking at the influence of additional social factors, such as parental influence on motivation. Understanding students' home life may offer important insights into students' motivational patterns. The author also suggests measuring psychological levels of concentrating and learning. Although the results of this research study provide evidence for high levels of perceived competence, enjoyment, and goal orientations, the research findings provided limited evidence for participants' motivational patterns in relation to the grades received and teacher input. Lastly, future recommendations include the examination of developmental differences in the motivational process in physical education programs. The current study is limited in including research for participants' motivational patterns in accordance to learning and physical disabilities. Hill and Croston, 2012, provide future research recommendations which focus on physical educators' success in teaching mixed gender lessons and student opinions on what strategies were most influential in increasing motivation. In addition, the authors suggest providing more detail and knowledge about the complexity of social identities in relation to motivation. Findings in the current research provide limited support for our understanding of gender differences and social identities in relation to intrinsic motivation. The strengths of the current research study include consequential evidence in support of physical education curriculum that offers choice and differentiated instruction for competitive activities. So, giving students the choice at the beginning of a term to choose what activities they'd like to participate in might lead to the development of intrinsic motivation in students. They'd be able to choose the sports they're interested in, and then within those competitive sports, such as football, basketball, soccer, give a more differentiated instruction. A teacher could maybe make those competitive games optional for the girls if they want to participate with the boys or not, or if they want to have their own girls game, or maybe they can do yoga off to the side while the boys are playing football. Maybe have 2 instructional sessions going on at one time. Those are all offered recommendations. If the study were to be repeated, new research questions would include: how does technology affect student motivation? Would a Wii Fit or having music or letting students run listen to music while they're running during a mile, would that increase their intrinsic motivation and lead to more participation? And then, do social identities and social economic status affect motivation and participation in physical education programs?